And now I'd like to bring on the newly reelected chair of the Ward 5 Democrats, and his name is Professor Gordon Andrew Fletcher. Professor Fletcher, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can. Good afternoon. How are you doing, James?
Doing fine. Thank you very much. Well, first of all, congratulations on your victory of being reelected as the chair of the Ward 5 Democrats. Could you talk about how you felt when you found out that you won the race?
James, I had to keep my, first of all, thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I definitely read the Washington Informer, and especially because of you, I definitely read it even more because, you're just a great journalist and writer. So, with those things being said, sir, at first, we had an initial count that was led by Ronnie Edwards, the party functions and organizations chair. And the initial count showed that I was victorious and I was in the lead, but there were 19 challenge ballots. So I had to have a very tempered smile on my face while we had to wait for the final count. And that occurred on Tuesday, a couple days after the 26th. So I was excited, but I had to wait for the official results on Tuesday. And, I've been in a lot of elections in my time in the District of Columbia, but this is by far the most rewarding and the most difficult one that I had to go through. So I'm just so happy. I'm so elated. My wife and myself, my team, supporters, especially seniors. Seniors were a big part of what we did on Saturday. And I'm just very happy that it turned out the way it did. I am disappointed that my entire slate did not win because we built a very great bond and relationship. However, I am also excited, though, about working with such a dynamic group of women from my opposing slate, looking to unify the party here in Ward 5.
Let's harp on that for a second. Gordon, why did you select a diverse slate? Why didn't you just have a slate with all Black people?
So, again, I'm a proud Black man. Okay, I want to make that very clear first and foremost. For those that do not know, I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. You don't hear the accent, but if I'm around my family and friends, it comes out more, But I grew up in New York, right? So I came to DC when I was 17 years old. So I've been in DC now, very much more than half my life, 19 years and counting to be exact, right? And so in my time, I've seen the transition of the District of Columbia. And I believe in a recent some recent data that I saw, Ward 5 in 2010 was 76% African American Black, right? In 2021, Ward 5 is 55% Black, African American.
Yes.
The Ward 5 Democrats has traditionally been an older Black organization. And while that is great, especially because of where we come from, I say we because I consider myself a Washingtonian by choice now. We've been here since, 1973, 74. So change was coming. And I wanted to be part of that change. And I want to be more inclusive and welcoming to a diverse group of individuals that reflect both Ward 5 as it currently is and also the Democratic Party. I believe the Democratic Party is the big tent party. Everybody belongs. There's space for everybody to get a seat at the table. And I wanted that to be reflected in the slate that I was leading.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that because that ward, as you said, was a traditional Black middle class ward, and that is changing. And as the chair of the party, what are some of the initiatives that you want to do for the next 2 years in that ward?
So we still have a lot of work to do with the Ward 5 Democrats. This election, it's the most historic election in the Ward 5 Democrats history because we had the most voters come out and turn out to vote. I was very excited about that.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my goals as chair during my first year with the organization was to heighten the awareness of the organization. And I can say unequivocally, through data with 500 plus voters, we've done that. But when we look at Ward 5 has 90,000 residents, about 70,000 Democrats. with 500, voters coming out. I'm not a mathematician, but I think you can see that that's less than 1% of like less than 1% of the population of Democrats, let alone the ward, right? So we have a lot more work to do to heighten the awareness. We have to increase our membership. More people, more folks from all areas of Ward 5 need to know about the Ward 5 Democratic Party and organization. I talk to people all the time that say, Gordon, I don't know. What do you guys do? And so it's my job, as well as the executive committee's job, to continue to heighten and increase the awareness and notoriety of the organization. So that's one of my top goals going into the second term. We started that in the first term, and now we're going to really get going with that. And the pandemic, I think we all can say that even though we're coming out of it, the pandemic still affected a lot of things, as well as the growth of the organization. During the June primary of last year, through the pandemic, with safety at the forefront of all of our minds, we got about 2,000 new active members of the Ward 5 Democrats. And so we want to keep on that path to just keep increasing. So that's one of the big things I'm looking to do this term, and also just unite the party. We gotta unite, which means that we have to work with different groups, different entities, different walks of life, all together for the betterment of the party.
Before I ask you my next question, I just want our viewers to know that you can view Win TV or have access to the material on Win TV on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we just got on TikTok. Yay!
Okay.
Now, Gordon, Ward 5 is an interesting ward because it's sort of like a little bit of everything in DC is there. It does have an increasing crime rate. Now, you also are a 3-time advisory neighborhood commissioner, as well as chair of the DC Democrats. Could you talk about, in your roles, what you can do in terms of the escalating homicide rate in particular?
Absolutely. So I'll keep my Ward 5 Democrats hat on for a second and let folks know that with the Ward 5 Democrats, when it comes to public safety, we want to focus on education, especially last year when there was such big discussions around police reform. I'm happy to say, with the support of John Lucio, who was serving as Issues and Programs Chair, we held a forum around what does it mean to defund the police, right? And then we also talked about what it means to reallocate funds.
Wait a second. Did your organization vote to defund the police?
Our organization took no stance. Our organization focused on education on both sides. We want to provide information. We want to be a hub of objective information, especially on topics such as defunding the police, police reform. We made sure not to take any stance. That's not our place. Not now, not at that time. But we do believe, and I believe, we have a duty, and it's in our bylaws, to educate voters in the ward, especially Democrats. So now, taking that hat off and I'm putting on my ANC hat, I live in this community and I love it. And I believe in the quiet fabric of especially my area of North Michigan Park, right? And so, maybe 6-7 months ago, there was a drive-by shooting in front of my house, right? So this is real stuff, for me, my wife, our neighbors as well. And my wife was like, Gordon, what are you doing? You're going outside? I'm like, yes, I'm going outside because I'm an elected official. I want to make sure that residents are okay. I walked out with Carmen Williams, North Michigan Park, Civic Association president. And one of the things I was happy to say that I am leading, I'm chair of the Public Safety Task Force for ANC 5A. So we want public safety to be comprehensive and more than just crime, even though it encompasses and includes crime. So under my leadership, with the support of our chair, Ronnie Edwards, of 5A, we started a public safety task force. And with that task force, I know, James, you probably know about this, and some of the listeners and viewers they've heard about the Orange Hat Patrol.
Mm-hmm.
Orange Hat Patrol was something that we used to do in DC in the 80s. It really helped reduce crime, especially after the height of the crack epidemic. And not just reduce crime, it also created more community. Folks were more connected in the neighborhoods. So I brought that back. We even have actual orange hats, right? And so we designate community members who want to be actively engaged in public safety. We'll do community walkthroughs with various agencies. Just this past this past Wednesday, I held and I led the second public safety meeting for ANC 5A. Mm-hmm. We had members of the MPD, OAG, DDOT. We had Citizens Advisory Council Chair Judy Jones. So again, we're trying to take a more holistic approach to curtail crime. And so we also believe that to do that, we got to talk with agencies such as DDOT, because when we talk about pathways that need to be fixed so folks don't have to walk around, unlit areas late at nighttime as the world's opening back up, that's safety in another kind of way. So I'm proud to say that I led, and I'm still working on our own Orange Hat Patrol in ANC 5A. Now, one thing I'll say also quickly is that I know a lot of folks some folks say, hey, Gordon, I may not want to be out there in the front lines, as an Orange Hat Patrol. You don't have to be. It's a choice, right? And this is something that I'm hoping with time the council will support, maybe get a walkie-talkie, get certain things that helps folks communicate more efficiently in real time with each other for those that want to be a part of this. And again, it brings the community together. DC is changing. A lot of times, we don't know our neighbors, and that doesn't help with safety. Knowing your neighbors is very important. And so this is, in my opinion, modern day community policing.
You mentioned the council. What relationship do you have to your council member, Kenyon McDuffie?
Yeah, Councilman McDuffie, he's a great leader. He's done, great things in the ward. I don't have, him and me, we're not, I wouldn't say we're friends, but I think we respect each other, and we respect, I respect him as the council member, and it's my hope and desire, and I believe he respects me as the chair of the party here in Ward 5.
Well, we only have less than 30 seconds. I'm just going to ask you this.
Sure.
Do you have any, in less than 20 seconds, do you have any political aspirations someday?
I love serving the District of Columbia. I love serving Ward 5. I've won 6 different elections in the ward. I'm very proud of that record. I'm going to keep going. I have family and friends, especially after this last election, that I made it out, and that want me to really, really consider running for Ward 5 City Council. So at this juncture, I'm taking that into strong consideration. I just resigned from my job today, right? So I could look at other opportunities in my life. So I think that's where I'm at right now. And focusing on Ward 5 Democrats every day of my life.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much for a very, very thought-provoking interview, and good luck, and we'll definitely have you on in the future.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much. You have a great day, and keep doing what you're doing for the District of Columbia.
Thank you.